All right, ready for another deep dive? Today we're looking at the Song of Solomon.
Yeah, always a popular one.
Right, and we're going with the World English Bible Translation this time.
Sounds good.
The language is, well, it's incredible, to say the least.
Beautiful, for sure.
Really is. So about the Song of Solomon, we often hear it interpreted as an allegory, right?
Right.
For love.
Yeah.
Could be, human love or even God's love for us.
Mm-hmm.
Some even see it as about national identity.
It's interesting, though, isn't it? Because the Song of Solomon, it never really comes right out and tells us how to read it that way.
Yeah, that's true.
It's much more like a collection of poems full of really strong imagery, metaphors. And that leaves a lot of room for us to think about what it all means.
Exactly. So in chapter 1, we meet the main characters, so to speak. I mean, the main voices.
Right.
We've got the woman, the beloved. She really wants her lover's affection.
Yeah, you can just feel that yearning, can't you?
You really can.
It's so powerful.
And then, of course, there's the male lover. He's just as passionate.
Oh, absolutely. Like when she compares his love to, what is it, the best wine.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she wants his kisses. She's not holding back at all.
One bit.
She's so direct. And this is where it gets, well, fascinating.
Yeah.
The beloved says about herself, dark but lovely. What do you think about that? I mean, it's caused a lot of debate.
It has. I think some people see it as maybe a challenge to how we usually think of beauty.
Right.
Maybe it's saying that real beauty goes way beyond what you can just see.
Mm-hmm.
Like it makes you think about how someone's personality, their kindness, their intelligence, all those things make them attractive too.
It really does. Like outer beauty versus inner beauty.
Exactly.
We get to chapter 2, and wow, the natural imagery explodes. It's like everywhere.
It is, isn't it?
Roses, lilies, apple trees, even the way the seasons change.
It's almost like their love is so strong that it affects nature itself.
Like changing the world around them. Yeah. And there's this really fun, playful energy between them, too.
Totally.
Like the beginning of a romance.
Yeah.
They're giving compliments, teasing a little.
Yeah.
And their affection, it comes out in all these playful metaphors.
They have this way of, like, dancing around each other, drawn to each other, but not quite together yet.
I like that. Like they're both excited by, the other's energy and charm.
Yeah, exactly.
But then chapter 3 comes along.
Mm-hmm.
Things take a darker turn.
Oh.
It's nighttime, and the beloved is searching for her lover.
Oh, no.
There's this anxiety and longing, and it's so intense.
It's powerful. I think that whole searching at night has a lot of meaning.
Yeah.
It could be about, some kind of separation between them, like
right.
a challenge they have to overcome. But maybe even more than that, I think it speaks to this universal feeling, like longing, like that deep need to connect with someone, that feeling of, I don't know, wanting intimacy. It's something we all feel at some point.
Right. And it's as if the poem is telling us, hey, even when you're crazy in love, there will be moments of doubt and fear and uncertainty. Love's not always easy.
Not at all. And when she finally finds him, there's relief, but also a sense of, like, vulnerability.
Oh, interesting.
That vulnerability, it gets even stronger in chapter 4.
Okay.
That's where he describes her beauty, but in this really detailed, vivid way.
He does, doesn't he? Doves, goats, pomegranates, towers. I mean, it's almost too much.
It is a lot to take in.
What do you think he's trying to say with all those descriptions?
I mean, some might say it's all about her physical beauty.
Right.
But I think it goes deeper than that.
Okay.
Like, he's not just caught up in how she looks. He's captivated by her essence, her inner qualities. It's as if he's trying to capture her whole being through these metaphors.
That's a beautiful way to think about it. It's like he's saying, I see you, all of you, and it takes my breath away. But then, just as we're settling into this, blissful admiration, chapter 5 throws a curveball.
Oh, no, what happens?
She opens the door, expecting to see him, and he's gone.
Oh, wow.
Vanished. And it triggers all these emotions, abandonment, confusion, desperation.
It's a harsh reminder that even the strongest relationships can have these moments,
Moments of what?
Disconnection, heartache.
It's as if the poem is showing us, look, love isn't always perfect. There are thorns, too. Moments that are painful, uncertain. And they really test how strong that bond is.
They really do. Oh. And the way she searches for him in this chapter, I mean, it just shows how much she loves him and how terrified she is of losing him. It's about the vulnerability that comes with letting someone into your heart.
So we've got this intense longing in the first few chapters, and then, bam, disappointment in this frantic search. Where do we go from here?
Chapter 6 is where he comes back and he like reaffirms his love for her. All that admiration is still there, but it's not simple.
Right, because now he's comparing her to Tirzah and Jerusalem. Two cities, ancient Israel. What's that about?
Well, some scholars think that this is where like national identity starts to come into the poem, as if her beauty, how captivating she is, it represents the land of Israel itself.
So it's not just their personal love story anymore.
Right. Maybe it's also about loving your homeland, feeling that connection.
Wow, that adds a whole other layer, doesn't
It really does. And then in chapter 7, things get, well, they get more sensual, more intimate.
Yeah.
The language is so vivid. It's all about sandals, wheat, fawns, wine, describing how alluring she is. It's like a celebration of desire, of the beauty of the human body.
You can really tell their passion hasn't faded, despite all the challenges.
Yeah, it's like they've found a deeper appreciation for what they have.
And then we hit chapter 8. And wow, the declarations of love, the commitment, it's powerful stuff.
It is. They even compare their love to death itself. Like it's this unstoppable force.
And nothing can extinguish it.
Exactly. And the way they talk about jealousy, it's like a fire, all-consuming.
Intense imagery, they're not messing around.
Nope. It's like they're saying, our love, it can't be stopped. It goes beyond even death.
Then towards the end of chapter 8, there's this scene with the beloved siblings talking about their little sister.
Right.
It's kind of vague, isn't it?
Yeah.
And scholars have been debating it forever.
It is a bit of a puzzle.
What are some of the things that make this section hard to interpret?
Well, for one, we don't know for sure what the siblings are even talking about. Are they worried about, her staying a virgin before marriage, or maybe her reputation? Or is it something symbolic, something deeper? We don't really know.
It definitely adds a layer of mystery to the whole thing.
The Song of Solomon likes to keep us guessing right to the very end.
It does.
Yeah.
But, one thing we keep seeing is the image of the garden. It comes up again and again. What do you think it means?
The garden's a powerful symbol, not just here, but in all kinds of literature and mythology.
Right.
It often represents paradise, fertility, a place where people can be intimate, connect with each other.
Like a safe space, away from the world?
Yeah. And in the Song of Solomon, it's almost like the garden becomes a symbol for their relationship itself.
Full of beauty, abundance, pleasure.
Exactly. But remember in chapter 5, when she's searching for him in the garden, and he's gone.
Oh, yeah.
It's a reminder that even in a perfect setting, love can still be uncertain. There can be loss.
So the garden shows us both sides, the joy and the sorrow.
The connection, the separation. It's that duality that runs through the whole Song of Solomon.
It's a poem that embraces all of it. The ecstasy, the agony, the ups and downs of love.
Exactly. Now, you mentioned earlier how the Song of Solomon has been interpreted in so many ways.
I did.
Some people see it as purely about erotic love, but others think it's an allegory for God's love for humanity.
What are some of the reasons people might see it that way?
It is.
As about God's love?
Well, think about the language. It's so passionate, so intense.
It is.
And the imagery. Some argue that all of that reflects how deeply God loves his people, a love that's unwavering, passionate. Ultimately, it's about transformation.
So in that reading, the beloved would be God's people.
Yeah. And the lover would be God himself.
Interesting.
And all that longing, the searching, and then finally finding each other, it's like the spiritual journey of trying to find God.
A whole new way to look at it.
Yeah.
But what about those who see it as about national identity? What's their take?
Well, they focus on things like the references to Tirzah and Jerusalem.
Right.
They see those places as symbolic of the land of Israel.
Right.
They also point to images like the vineyards, the gardens.
Those are often associated with the promised land.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So beautiful, so fertile. So in this view, the love between the couple, it's like a metaphor for the love people have for their homeland. That deep connection, that loyalty.
In all the struggles, the triumphs in the poem, they could be about the Israelites' history, their political struggles.
Right. It's amazing how this one poem can have so many layers of meaning. And it speaks to people in such different ways. It really shows how poetry can transcend time and culture.
It really does. So why do you think people are still drawn to the Song of Solomon, even today?
I think it's the honesty and the way it's not afraid to explore all of human emotion, the longing, the joy, the jealousy, the pain. It celebrates desire, physical intimacy. But it also doesn't shy away from the difficult stuff, the challenges of relationships.
And it does all of that with such evocative language. The imagery is so rich, so sensual. It's like you can almost reach out and touch it.
That's the power of poetry. It lets us express these deep feelings, feelings that are sometimes hard to put into words. The Song of Solomon doesn't just tell us about love, it makes us feel it.
It's like it's inviting us to, I don't know, reconnect with our own capacity for passion, longing, vulnerability. But for someone coming to the Song of Solomon for the very first time, what advice would you give them?
I'd say be open. Be ready to be surprised. Don't worry too much about finding the right way to interpret it. Just let the poem wash over you. Pay attention to the images, the metaphors that speak to you. See what it means to you personally.
Like it's a mirror, reflecting back our own experiences with love, our own understanding of it.
Exactly. And what we see in that mirror, it might change over time, right?
How so?
What we connect with when we're young, it might feel different when we're older. That's the beauty of it. The Song of Solomon can be with us throughout our lives, offering new insights, new perspectives along the way.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into this incredibly rich and complex poem, what's one key takeaway you hope our listener walks away with?
I hope they see how powerful and relevant the Song of Solomon still is. This isn't just an old text sitting on a shelf. It's a work of art that still speaks to us, to the deepest parts of who we are.
And maybe it can even inspire us to be more honest, more courageous
Yeah.
in how we express love and desire.
Beautifully said. The Song of Solomon reminds us that love, in all its forms, it shapes us, it challenges us, and it connects us to something bigger than ourselves.
So, to our listener, we encourage you to explore the Song of Solomon yourself. Let its poetry ignite your imagination, make you question what you thought you knew, and maybe, just maybe, help you understand your own heart a little better. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, it really is. It makes you wonder, like, why does this one poem still speak to people after all this time?
Right. What is it about the Song of Solomon that's so captivating, even now?
I think it's that honesty, you know? It's not afraid to get real about how we feel, the longing, the joy, the jealousy, even the heartache. It celebrates wanting someone, that physical intimacy, but it also shows us the tough parts, the parts of relationships that aren't so easy.
And it does it all with such powerful language. The images are so vivid, so sensual. It's like you can practically feel them.
That's poetry for you, right? It gives us a way to express those feelings that are hard to put into words, sometimes feelings that are hard to even admit to ourselves. The Song of Solomon doesn't just talk about love, it makes you experience it.
It's like it reawakens something in us. That ability to feel passion, to long for someone, to be vulnerable. But let's say someone's never read the Song of Solomon before. What would you tell them? How should they approach it?
I'd say go in with an open mind. Be ready to be surprised. Don't get hung up on trying to figure out the one true meaning. Just let the poem wash over you. Notice what stands out to you, the images, the metaphors that resonate. What does it mean to you personally?
Like it's holding up a mirror, showing us what love means to us.
Exactly. And what we see in that mirror, well, it might change over time, right? As we grow and change ourselves.
So what we connect with when we're younger, it might mean something different later on.
Exactly. That's what makes the Song of Solomon so special. It can stay with us throughout our lives, offering new insights, new ways of seeing things.
As we wrap up our deep dive into this amazing poem, is there one thing you really want our listener to take away from this?
I hope they see how much power the Song of Solomon still holds. This isn't just some ancient text, it's a living, breathing piece of art, and it still speaks to us today in the deepest parts of ourselves.
And maybe it can even encourage us to be more honest, more brave in how we express our own love and desire.
I love that. The Song of Solomon reminds us that love, with all its messiness and beauty, it's a force that shapes us, challenges us, and connects us to something bigger than ourselves.
So, to our listeners, we encourage you to dive into the Song of Solomon for yourselves. Let its poetry spark your imagination, make you question everything you thought you knew, and who knows, maybe it'll help you understand your own heart a little better. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.